So this is an essay that I wrote, which is on Substack, and it's called A Three-Way War on Women. And the picture that you can see has God the Father on the right with a beard, God the Son on the left, Jesus, and then God the Holy Spirit in the middle. And they're all sort of, well, putting a crown on or shining a light on Mary, the woman. Right, so it's called A Three-Way War over women. So we're in the middle of a three-way ideological war. It's worldwide, patterned on the patriarchal myth of the Christian Trinity, and it's about control over women. So the current three-way ideological war can be seen as an acting out and recreation of the Christian myth. It's a fight between the gods, God the Father, that's the patriarchs, right wing, who say it's natural that women are dominated, e.g., Putin, Orban, the Pope, Matt Walsh, or David Starkey. And God the Son, who are the brotherhood. So it's the fratriarchs, the left wing, the socialists, brotherhoods, e.g., Trudeau, the European Union, I'm defining as a brotherhood or a fratriarchal organization. So the younger men, the United Nations, the BBC. And so this is the left. And then God, the Holy Spirit, who could be the third aspect of man's collective will. So the transiarchs, I've called them, but the transgender ideologists, genderist, boundary breaking men who say they have become women, e.g., Dylan Mulvaney or Eddie Izzard, and we know loads of other ones. So the war is over women as in land or territory or resources or people. It's a war over who will get control, who will get us, who will control us. So it's a fight between men and the victor will get us. But it's also a war over the minds and souls. So they, the men, are fighting to win women's hearts and minds as well as control us. So to win this war, they need to also win women over, to offer us something, to win our consent or our reluctant submission, or in some cases of the woke women, eager enrollment. And it's tricky for the men because they need to tread a fine line. They need to signal that men who follow them will get their loot, their booty, a woman or some women, but they also need to convince enough women to buy into the deal. And I'm saying you could see it like churches who have been losing churchgoers. They're advertising their version of Christianity, aiming to get the flock back onto the pews. So that the men are not fighting to overthrow patriarchy. So none of these men who speak against transgender ideology or for it want to overthrow patriarchy. They're arguing about how best to run patriarchy. Sometimes some of their arguments and actions align with some of ours, but none of them want free women. They want bigger flocks, us being the sheep. In this three-way struggle, it's crucial for women to remember that our enemy's enemy is not our friend. The war is over us, women, females, and they are all our enemies. To illustrate what's going on, imagine a stadium. In the middle of the stage, there are three men in a triangle facing each other for combat. They wear mics and body cameras. A massive crowd looks on, waving flags, cheering for their champion. Large screens show close-ups of their faces and speakers amplify their words, so everyone can hear. In the centre, between the three men, is a beautiful young woman looking unsure. She will have to choose one of the men and go with him. He will be the winner. The crowd will also vote. The first man is oldish, 60-ish, bearded, strong, authoritative, conservative. He's God the Father, the patriarch, wearing blue. The second man is younger, in his 30s, wearing a Che Guevara t-shirt. He has a socialist red star tattoo on his muscled bicep. He's God the Son. And the third man is younger still, a drag queen in his early 20s, long-haired, wearing a pink dress, high heels, lipstick and nail varnish. And he's God the Holy Spirit. Each man has earphones and is being fed arguments from teams of supporters. Many of the supporters are women who give their ideas to the men, glad to have their words spoken, their ideas shared in the arena. The crowd wave their flags to show who they support. Blue for the patriarch, red for the fratriarch, and pink for the transgender ideologist or transiarch. But the majority of the crowd is silent, flagless, fence-sitting. The scene is set, but wait, the blue and red crowds, there's a small group with purple, green, and white flags singing, led by a middle-aged woman with short grey hair. You can just make out, if a person's got a penis, he's a man. If a person's got a penis, he's a man. These are the radical feminists, many in adult human female shirts. But their song is drowned out by the rest of the crowd, and our attention is drawn by the official commentator telling us the show's starting. Sometime during the show, one of the pink crowd lunges at a radical feminist and grabs her flag. The stewards notice and kick the women out of the stadium for causing trouble. So that's us being kicked out of the fight, and the whole war over women is we are being silenced because somebody attacked us. Um, the patriarch starts. He offers the young woman in the centre his hand and says she will have freedom of speech, a secure, safe home, dignity. He uses the nature argument. It's natural that women and men are different sexes and they play different but complementary roles. All this newfangled feminist woke nonsense is awful. He supports women-only sports. He blames the transgender ideologists or the transiarchs for breaking down society and invading women's spaces. He abhors the support of this gender fluidity that comes from the left, who he says are totalitarians. He will provide a strong, stable community that offers protection within capitalism. He's a good family man, a churchgoer, and distrusts the fratriarch's motives. Why are they promoting drag queen story time to children? So that was God the Father. He uses some of the arguments that have been articulated by feminists for years, but does not credit them. In this spirit, Matt Walsh's film, What is a Woman, and we've had loads of examples of this, haven't we, did not mention the work done by radical feminist groups like Wolf or WDI USA, although both groups are significant players. It seems that the patriarchs have decided the best way to deal with the threat that the young woman might decide they like radical feminists, or young women, more than the patriarchs, is never mention the radical feminists exist, and never give us a platform. After all, he notices that the women with the suffragette flags have been ejected from the stadium. Now it's the fratriarch's turn. He's a union member and in the leftist party. He works for the government and can get the young women a job in the capital. She will get good wages and conditions, and this benefit is thanks to the heroic struggle of the brotherhood and sisters who fought capitalism to create a caring state. She will have free healthcare, education, job, equality. There'll be free abortion on demand and access to contraception. The real issue, he says, is poverty, and that affects women worst. He's her man to solve the problems. And anyway, the fratriarch, he explains, has teamed up. So he's the union guy, has teamed up with the transgender ideologists, the transiarchs, who are championing the most oppressed of all, the LGBTQ++. And so joining him, the left, will be as good as joining the transiarchs, the transgender ideologists, so God, the Holy Spirit, the glorious history of socialism on his side, and all those professions, all the unions and organizations and political parties, all those brotherhoods to be part of, she'll be justified and virtuous if she joins his group. And then in the fight over who's going to win this woman's trust and vote, the young transiarch goes next. He throws off his pink coat and reveals a glorious body in a skimpy dress. He doesn't address the young woman, but turns to the crowd. First, his pink-clad crowd, and then the whole crowd. He bursts into song. Oh, come on, go on, you adore me, you know you want it. The crowd roar delightedly, and showers of rainbow glitter explode from all directions onto the stage. A genderbread man dashes onto the pitch and skips around. He smiles patronizingly to the young woman and says she's gorgeous and she could be part of his gang. He invites her to the opening of his new West End show and gives her a hug. You don't want those old men, he says. Come with me and let's make feminism fun again. I'll just see how much. Oh, it's very nearly finished this. So the opening speech is over. Now come the sporting women. The patriarch has a conservative mother to speak up. The fratriarch, a female politician, to reiterate the benefits of the brotherhood fraternity. And the transarch is supported by a trans woman, a young man with lipstick who sobs when he recounts how he bravely fights bigotry in his university. She should join him. The conservative mother attacks the immoral drag queen story time. The socialist politician attacks the patriarchs as anti-abortion, and the trans woman attacks the patriarchs for banning queers in Hungary. Well, just what Nicolette has just told us. Because this war is over women, our word, the word woman, our bodies, whether we're a sex class or a sex caste, and because men want to win us over, they're using women and women's arguments to help them. So it's not just controlling us, it's also they want us to think that they're on our side, which we know they're not. The men take our arguments, twist them and shape them to suit patriarchy, and then sell them back to the population as if they were theirs. They shake up the ideas and find how to make money from them, and then peddle and distort this distorted offer of liberation to the desperate population of young women. Because they control the means of communication, they silence us. It's like Big Pharma selling HRT as a cure for menopause and funding websites and articles problematizing menopause, platforming women who had a hard time during the change, and silencing those of us who found that sage tea and a long walk did the trick. It's worse than that, but it's similar to that. It's that pattern over and over. So it's essential if the young woman is to choose one of the men, never to mention the actual radical feminists, which is done by all the men. It's helpful if this is to work to vilify the radical feminists, to warn young women that radical feminists are beyond the pale, devils in relation to this godly trinity. The work is done very well by the supporting women who are rewarded with honours and well-paid jobs. But make no mistake, none of these men want women to be free. When this fight is over, they will turn on us with renewed energy. They don't want free women. They want bigger flocks. The Trinity are the three faces of patriarchal God, and that God is one. Men might favour one face, say God the Father, but roll out the Son or the Holy Spirit from time to time. Other men might prefer the Spirit or the Son, but refer to the Father when necessary. Behind the conflict is unity. The man-made trio has worked well at controlling women for 2 millennia, and they're using that structure again in a sublimated form, but in a similar form. This way of looking at the gender wars is sparked by the insight from Mary Daly, and her insight was that man-made myths structure society and shape the future. So in her writing, she said that the Christian Trinity myth both structures society, but it makes the new society because it's such a core structural part of our society. And whether it's an insight, it's hopefully it's got people thinking a bit about why, how well it works, the fact that it's so confusing and that there's this three-way war, so you can look at one of the men and think they're good in relation to the others. They might be on our side, but I suppose the insight is they're all bad and they're all just trying to control us. So our job is to break that pattern and wrench us to a different track.